7th grade Connected Math midterm review, question number 8. Alright, this one says the triangles below are similar. So they're telling you that they're similar. And you have to do two things here. Name all the corresponding sides and name all the corresponding angles. Your review might have the letters here. I took them out because I think that's making it too easy for you, especially since on the test these letters may not be here. So there's a couple things we need to key on here first and foremost. When you are naming corresponding sides, in order to have a side, to understand where that side is, you need to use two letters. So this would be side KL. If you just said side K, that doesn't make sense. I wouldn't know if you're talking about this side or that side. So you must use two letters when you're talking about sides. And over here it says name all the corresponding angles. Again, on your review, you might have something filled in here. I took it out again because it's making it too easy for you, especially if on the test we don't provide this. Now, when you're naming angles, most of the time in class I told you to use three letters to name an angle. And I showed you why. There's a reason why we do that. But I can go over that again real quickly. Alright, if we use one letter to name an angle, which you can do, in this shape, however, it's going to cause problems. If you were to tell me angle B, I'm not going to know if you're talking about this angle right here or this angle right here or the entire angle right here. In other words, do you mean A, B, D, or do you mean D, B, C, or do you mean A, B, C? When you just say one letter, if you have a figure like this, it's too complicated. So that's why we were using three letters, because I want you to understand if you run into something like this. However, in a triangle, there's only one other direction as you approach an angle that you can go. So that's why when naming angles in a triangle, one letter is acceptable. Again, when you get to shapes like this, you must use three letters. You can use three letters for triangles. There's nothing wrong with that if you want to stay in that habit. But again, you're allowed to use one letter now when you're talking about triangles. Keep in mind, in any of these videos that you see, things that I show you here may disappear as we begin the problem, so sometimes it's a good idea to take notes. Alright, now we're kind of ready to answer these questions here. So once you name all the corresponding sides, name all the corresponding angles, you can do whatever you feel comfortable with first. One thing that I would suggest is if you can't visually see this, or even if you can to be on the safe side, there's nothing wrong with redrawing one of these shapes so that it's facing the same direction. So if you choose to do that, go ahead. I'm not going to do this for the video, but again, you can. Okay, just because it's on the left, we'll start with the sides. Side JK corresponds to side HG. This is the smallest side here, and this is the smallest side here. So JK corresponds to HG. Now, a question students also often have at this point is, does it matter, like, could I have written KJ there and still left that as HG? And the answer is yes. It's a good habit to start in the same direction in both lines. I started with J here, so I started with H there. But it really doesn't matter because that is still the side. This side JK could be called side KJ. So that doesn't matter. Alright, so the next side. We did this, we did the small one, so why don't we do maybe the medium-sized one. Side KL corresponds to side GF. Now we put three answers here. We could make it really difficult and leave this completely blank. And what you would have to look at is, since you're comparing triangles, you know you have to have three answers because there's three sides. So the last side would be the longest side in the two triangles, and we'll say JL corresponds to HF. Now we want to switch over to name all the corresponding angles. Same thing, we're looking at the same two shapes, and we need to match up the correct angles. Angle J corresponds to angle H. Angle K, which is the only obtuse angle, corresponds to angle G, which is the only obtuse angle here. Angle L, which appears to be the smallest angle, corresponds to angle F, which appears to be the smallest angle in this triangle. That's it for question number 8.